Welcome to Patio Susan. It's time for Ladies Talking Leafs. I'm Chris.
And I'm Sil.
And we hope everybody's having a great summer. Since Leafs development camp, it's been pretty quiet when it comes to Leaf news, and there's a lot of fan anticipation for the Leafs to be back on the ice. We have a lot to talk about, including some exciting news for our show.
Yes, we're moving to a new platform, which we are very excited about because, as always, we want to make the show better for you. You will still find us on all of your favorite podcast apps. Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and YouTube will still be the place where you can watch our show. Also, a quick reminder to check out and subscribe to our YouTube channel as we have updated it with videos from Leafs development camp. And you can see Gavin McKenna, Miroslav Holinka, Alexander Bilecki, and many more Leafs prospects. So now let's get into the show, and we're going to start off with the Blue and White Patio Report. And for our third period segment, we welcome Arun Srinivasan, Managing Editor of the Leafs Nation. So without any further ado, let's talk Leafs.
The Blue and White Patio Report. Patio has been quiet with the Leaf news. So we're going to talk about what could be potential forward line combinations and defense pairings for the Leafs for this upcoming 2026-27 season. Just working with what we know right now, basically. So got a couple of, options here. The first, and we're just going to give our thoughts on it, basically, to see which one we prefer. So the first combination has the top line as Matthew Nyes, Austin Matthews, and Jack Roslovic. And then second line is Gavin McKenna, John Tavares, William Nylander. And then we'll just do the third up to the third line right now: Dakota Joshua, Teddy Blueger, and Easton Cowan. So what do you think of those top three?
Well, I kind of see McKenna playing with Matthews right off the top. So that's kind of the first thing that stands out to me. And also, I wouldn't be surprised if William Nylander gets a crack with the two of them on the top line personally. And so that's the biggest thing that I see. I guess it makes sense that Joshua and Blueger would be together, since I guess they kind of want to see if they can rekindle some of their chemistry. But yeah, so to start with, that's what I see.
Yeah, so, that's where, and now the fourth line, let's just say that they have is Nick Paul on the left side with Colton Sissons centering, and then Brendan Duhaime as the fourth line right winger. And this is where I like this combination, actually, because I think McKenna, I don't know, I'm all about this I'm weirded out by all of this pressure talk on McKenna, sort of like that it's going to be too much for him to handle. I think he can handle it,
but I 100% disagree with that. I don't think he's going to feel that pressure. And who better for him to play with in that regard than with Austin Matthews, who's the last guy who had the same kind of pressure on him to begin with. So
but John Tavares
feel like that's a good mentoring. JT for sure is going to mentor him regardless.
Yeah.
But he's probably going to be moving in with him and babysitting his kids and stuff. So, but as far as on the ice, I think they want to see if those two are going to have the chemistry they're hoping for. And I don't see why they would want to wait on that personally.
Okay. And that chemistry for me would come on the power play. Like that's for me that they would definitely have Gavin McKenna on the first power play with
I think it's all about, do they want to ease the guy in, or are they going to throw him into the fire? And I kind of feel like from the personality we've seen, I think that he's going to be itching to be thrown into the fire, frankly. So,
he definitely will. And then just going back to that fourth line, and I guess the third and fourth line, the bottom six, like that. I guess with Dakota Joshua and Teddy Blueger, that's the only reason why I'm thinking I'm liking that, just to see if that chemistry can happen again. And then Easton Cowan being the young guy that's hungry and just full of fire all the time on that right side. I think it would be good for him. And I think there's it's definitely going to be interchangeable parts throughout the season, but there is some other combinations that puts like Colton Sissons and the third line, on the third line, moving him up and putting Nick Paul in on the fourth line at center. and Bluger on the left side on the fourth line, right? So that's another. So it would be Joshua, Sissons, and Cowan, and Bluger, Paul, and Duhaime.
I personally see Nick Paul on the third line, not the fourth line.
Okay.
I kind of feel like unless they're going to be rolling these guys equally, I sort of feel like he's kind of lost a little bit there on the fourth line personally, but I don't know. I guess we're going to see, but
yeah, that's what I would say. I mean, last season he was injured, right? For a lot of it, he only played 51 games, and but I was looking up the ice time comparisons between like Sissons and Nick Paul, because basically that's really Bluger can play center, or has played center quite a bit, but he can play wing as well. But the ice time that Nick Paul had in 2023-24 season with Tampa was the most that he had. It was 17 minutes a night. And then Sissons, he played about 16 minutes in that same season too. That's the most that he's ever played average time on ice. So they both played about the same. Yeah. So that's why it's like they're almost interchangeable.
Yeah.
That way, but I don't know. I guess it's going to depend on the chemistry, basically. And then, of course, we didn't mention, I guess, Steven Lorentz, obviously, is going to possibly be the extra unless he has a great training camp, basically. He has to prove himself that way. And then, so going on to the second combination, though, of forwards that I had, it was starting lineup. Top line was McKenna, Matthews, and Roslovic, which is what I think you like, except for maybe Nylander up there. And then second line is Nyes, Tavares, Nylander.
And I mean, that's kind of, like a good old home line, that they're used to playing with each other. So there's something that could be said for that. A little bit of consistency there.
Yeah. And then there's Joshua, Nick Paul, and Cowan, which is what we just discussed too, and then Bluger, Sissons, and Duhaime. So that's the other.
Think overall, the second combo would be my preferred one that I'd like to see on opening night. Barring maybe Nylander getting a shot with them on the top line. I mean, at some point that we're going to see that anyways, regardless. I think.
Yeah.
So, but maybe start with Roslovic there and see how it goes.
Yeah, because was Roslovic playing? He wasn't playing with McDavid, right? I don't think he was. I'd have to look it up. We'll look it up.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think I guess the way they're looking at it is they got Roslovic because of that, I guess, going back to the U.S. development program when they were playing together with Matthews, that they have that connection there. They're hoping to see if the connection can come back. So that's why I'm thinking that maybe they'll go with that. But I still like it flipped. I still like McKenna with Tavares and Nylander.
But the thing is, to me, for skill set wise, I don't find that fits as well because Nylander, yes, he's a shooter, but he's also a facilitator.
Yeah.
I don't know, like who's going to be facilitating? Like to me, I think you're not going to be getting the most out of Willie or the most out of McKenna if you have them together. I don't think. And I really think that Austin Matthews, yes, he's a center, but he likes it when someone is setting him up. And that is McKenna's skill set. I just feel like that is the best
McKenna can set up Willie too.
He can, but Willie is also a playmaker though, more so than Austin is.
So then Tavares will benefit.
I don't know. Anyways, let's move on to the defense. Yeah. So the first combo we have here is Jake McCabe with Raddysh, Morgan Rielly with Chris Tanev, and then the third pair is OEL with either Emil Andre or Troy Stecher.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm not liking splitting up the Jake McCabe and Chris Tanev combination.
But it's interesting. Any of the combos we've seen anywhere, no one's keeping them together somehow. I don't know why.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's true. They're splitting them up. I don't know why either. And I don't know. I think from what I remember, Rielly and Tanev did play together, but
then and it didn't last long because it didn't work.
Yeah.
So I don't really see how they think it will work now.
Yeah. And that's why I'm thinking like we're just in general, I just think that we're missing a 1B defenseman right now, like to fill in that spot with Darren Raddysh. Like, I mean, Darren Raddysh, technically, he's only had one good season, right? So, like, we can't say that he's definitely like a 1A defenseman. So there needs to be a number one defenseman basically beside him, like another number one pairing. And I don't know how we're going to do that, or if we're just going to.
I don't foresee that will happen this year.
No, I don't think so either. And then the other thing I'm thinking, I don't know, this Emile Andre, we don't know a lot about him.
No.
And so it's going to be interesting to see, like, with Troy Stecher, like, whether or not, like, there's going to be a battle there, I think, a little bit, because I like Troy Stecher, and he had a really good, like, when we picked him up off of waivers, he was fantastic, right? And I'm just hoping we get that version of him, like, for the start of the season anyways. And
but I think this Emile Andre guy
he's younger. He's a lot younger. Yeah.
Likely going to be faster. I mean, both of them are smaller players.
Yeah.
But this guy's probably, I think they got him because he's just that much better at breaking the puck out, right? So, but
that's the other thing.
We haven't seen him, right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of his main skill set, I think.
Yeah. And that's what the whole, I guess, John Chayka with his whole idea of renewing the defense, like, is all the idea is all about puck movement and puck moving, getting the puck up to the forwards and get moving. So yeah, that makes sense too. But I don't really like that first.
Okay, so let's look at this other combination then. So this might be more to your liking. We've got OEL and Darren Raddysh on the top pair, and then Jake McCabe united with Chris Tanev. And then on the third pair is Morgan Rielly with either Emile Andre or Troy Stecher.
Yeah. So, I mean, I like this one better. I created it because I have to say, because
full disclosure.
Yes. Yeah. Because I basically just decided, I'm looking at, and it's still in my mind, like, we don't have that number one defenseman. So I just thought, you know what, from what Sil said I think it was during the season, you said that, like, it was, OAL was playing so many minutes, and like, why not just use him up on the top pairings, right? And he has that jam in his game, and he can take it. Basically, he can take the minutes. He's a veteran guy, so I just decided, you know what, I'm just going to put him up with Darren Raddysh, and let him take the minutes until he can't do it, basically. And then Jake McCabe with Chris Tanev, I just like having that solid pairing. They know each other and they're dependable. And the season that a couple of seasons ago when they played together, they were like the best defense, one of the best in the NHL as a pairing for shutdown D-men, for a shutdown D pairing. And then Morgan Rielly goes to the third combination, going from the top to the bottom. And I think it's a good spot for him, and he'll get power play time, right? Like, he'll get power play time on the second unit.
The only thing that I question about this, and this is where, God, I hate to say it, but I just question the fit of Rielly in this core. Like, I kind of feel like, the good part of this is he's not going to be required to play as many minutes. But the bad part of this is that he kind of needs a more stay-at-home guy to play with, and I don't think that either Emile Andre or Troy Stecher is that guy. So that's a thing, Like, I don't know. I kind of wonder if he'll still get. Like, I just don't know.
It doesn't fit.
Where does he fit?
Now that you're saying that, it does. Yeah, in both situations, both combinations.
Yeah,
he doesn't fit anywhere, which is sad.
Yeah,
because we like Morgan Rielly, and he's a good Leaf, and he loved being a Leaf, and I don't know,
but things have changed, and his game has changed, and I mean, I guess this is a question of, and we've brought this up before in the past of, if he can develop some other parts of his game, then great. But if he's going to go down to the third pair and be like, I need to be the shutdown guy, that's never going to work.
That's true too.
So,
or yeah,
I don't know.
It may negatively affect his game too.
How it could work is if he and Andre, say, have great chemistry and they can both play to their strengths and they just are really good at finding each other on the ice and just know wherever each other is and they've got great chemistry that way, maybe it could work, because both of them could be a mobile guy. Maybe one of them doesn't have to be a traditional shutdown person. Maybe how they work together is because they are good possession guys and they can find each other and find other players, and the forwards and break the puck out. So it's just gonna all be, all like that kind of thing, like if they can play to their strengths and they can play well together, maybe it can work. But in a more traditional way, I just don't see the fit. So anyway, but overall, I guess we can agree that your second combination is the superior one.
For what we have to work with right now.
That's right. I agree. Anyway, we would love to hear from any of you that are listening and watching with your ideas on what you think would work for the Leafs line combinations and or defense pairings. So you can give us a shout on Leaf It to the Ladies. Leave us a message using our SpeakPipe link, and you can find that in our show notes or in our social media profile pages. So now we're going to move on to our third period segment. And we are going to chat about how the Leafs roster is being shaped with the managing editor of the Leafs Nation, Arun Srinivasan.
We're excited to have as our guest for the first time on our show, longtime journalist covering the Maple Leafs, Arun Srinivasan.
Arun is the managing editor of the Leafs Nation and is a member of the Professional Hockey Writers Association. You can find Arun's articles at the website, theleafsnation.com, which will be included in the show notes of this episode. So thanks for coming on the show with us, Arun. Thanks for making time, with this beautiful weather and everything to come on with us.
Thank you so much for having me. I actually really do love the show, and I'm happy to chat hockey anytime. No, I really love it.
Great. Yeah, we all love the Leafs, right? It's all about the Leafs.
Yeah, absolutely.
Always about the Leafs. It's always about the Leafs, that's for sure.
Yeah. All right. So it's August and we are 6 or 7 weeks away, I guess, from the NHL training camps opening up. And the excitement in the Leafs fan base is huge, like we're talking about. And something we haven't seen in quite a few years. And in your recent article, you noted that the passion is back for the 26-27 Leafs. I love that line. The passion returns, right? The player moves, though, from that GM John Chayka has made so far. Which one do you think is going to benefit the team the most? And which one do you think may be more risky?
That's a great question. I mean, I think so the team, the one that's going to benefit the team the most, by Darren Raddysh, the sign and trade. I mean, you have to be bold. I like it a lot. I think even if he doesn't produce the way he did last season, he still has a high enough ceiling. He's got an absolute cannon of a slap shot. And I'm going to plan to write about a little bit more in August about what this means from an on-ice perspective. Because having someone, a defenseman with that type of slap shot, opens up so much more space for Austin Matthews and William Nylander on the power play. So I think there's a lot of ancillary effects that then get spoken about with Darren Raddysh. I really like the story of it too. So he was minor hockey teammates with Connor McDavid and Sam Bennett in the Toronto Marlboros of Greater Toronto Hockey League. Was just, another teenager, didn't really stand out on that team, but basically clawed his way into the NHL as an undrafted player. And has now worked his way into an NHL stalwart, getting an 8-year deal. So the human interest side of the story is like really cool. And that's sort of what I meant with the passion. It's like, whether it's intentional or not, to have Darren Raddysh and Nick Paul, who grew up in Mississauga, these Greater Toronto area kids that are coming back to the team, along with just their outright enthusiasm for coming back home. That was certainly evident with Nick Paul, both in sort of the formal media availability he did with the Leafs reporters after he joined the team in the first week of July. He also spoke to my colleague Nick Alberga on Leafs Morning Take, and just the passion just radiates. Like, he's just speaking about how much he would go to, how much he,
even though he was a Leaf killer, right? So now he's
I know. I also wrote about that too, right? The cognitive dissonance we're all going to have to year and erase our memories of 2022. And then you asked about the high risk. The riskiest signing is also my favorite signing, which is Sergei Bobrovsky.
Really? That's your favorite one? Oh,
it's my favorite one. I like it a lot. And I'm planning on writing a little bit more about this in August. And I've touched on it a little bit, but, volatility is baked into goaltending, I think. And there's going to be risk always with goaltenders. So why not take a risk on a player of Sergei Bobrovsky's pedigree? I mean, we spoke about Dick Paul, right? We've all seen what Bobrovsky did. I mean, on the beat, for the life of me, like that Game 5 of 2023 Florida versus Leafs is like the best I've ever seen the on ice product. And it was because Bobrovsky played. He was unforgettable. And whether he returns to that form or not, I don't know. But I like the idea of like if there's risk inherent to the position, why not take a risk on someone with a pedigree that Sergei Bobrovsky has? Just even the interactions he has too. Like what I found really interesting is how much both young players and established veterans gravitate towards him. The whole Jersey Gate thing, which was a non-issue for both players. They're like, I'm going to give Bobrovsky my number. And in turn, Bobrovsky's like, I really appreciate it from this kid. So
do you worry at all with Bobrovsky? How he seemed to really want to go back to Florida, right? Like, and he was kind of like, I don't know. He didn't seem so enthused enough to me to say that he put on a good show, obviously, to say that he was happy to join the Leafs and the Leafs are giving him the money that in the term that he wanted, but he was like really sad. And obviously he won 2 cups with them, with Florida, but I don't know. That's one part that I'm saying, is his mind really set to be a Maple Leaf?
What I do like about, actually, I mean, you guys can tell me if I'm drinking the Kool-Aid. As a reporter, actually, it's on me to be more critical. But I appreciate his candor. Like I thought it was like a sort of honest approach to it, right? Like, from strictly from a journalistic standpoint, you always want players to be as candid and forthright as possible. And I just thought, great, like, well, at least he admitted it, right? Like, I think, not that anyone would have, been overly harsh on him if he were to come out and give, super PR trained answers and say, I've always wanted to be a Maple Leaf, all this, but I like the idea that he was like, look, of course it was my first choice to return to Florida. But what I liked about him is also too, he sort of offered a chronology in his remarks. He's like, once they made it clear that they were going with Jacob Markstrom, then I was gone. And I thought that was interesting too, to include that aspect of it. It's like, yes, there was a demarcation point for him.
Right.
So yeah, I think he's excited to come. He said he's excited to join a historical, legendary franchise. And maybe that's me eating the me drinking the Kool-Aid, so to speak. But I'm excited. I think once that it became clear that he wasn't going back to Florida, he came here with open arms. And let's hope so. He was really well spoken when we had a chance to meet with him. But goalies are rarely made available across the NHL, so I don't know how often we're going to get a chance to get sort of view of what his internal thought process is like. But
they're different. Goalies are different.
Don't mind me or Scott, or I might spend the whole hour and rambling about Sergei Bobrovsky and what excites me about it. But yeah, I think those two signings certainly stand out for different reasons. But I think there is sort of a common theme of reinvigorating this roster, bringing in some new energy, while also sort of realizing there's a lot to work with. Like they just needed to tweak the roster a little bit. So it's been a really exciting few months to cover the team for sure.
So yeah, with the goaltending, like we were talking about this a little bit off air, Christine and I as well, that, there has been zero stability in the net for the last almost 10 years, right? Mm-hmm. So maybe Bobrovsky is going to give us a little bit more of that for now, hopefully. So we'll see how it all shakes out. But obviously having a guy with that caliber in the pipes for us is going to be pretty good. And he has some buddies here. So hopefully they'll make him feel a little bit at home. Anyway, we've also heard reports that GM John Chaika isn't finished with shaping the roster yet. According to Puckpedia, the Leafs are currently $2.75 million over the cap still. So we got to figure that move's going to have to be made at some point. So what do you think that move will be? Is Morgan Rielly still like the number one trade candidate, or maybe somebody like Dakota Joshua?
Yeah. So, I mean, things have certainly quieted down in terms of chatter around the team. I think if there is a move to be made, it probably would be a move involving Morgan Rielly. Yeah, I still think it's him. But yeah, I mean, speaking
Are
to
you
what
a fan of Morgan Rielly? Like, do you?
yeah, I mean, like, what I will say is like, obviously growing up around covering as a fan of the team, like I absolutely love watching him. But as now as a journalist, like I love talking to Morgan. He's he's a great guy to talk to. He really does have that those intangibles that you want on any given team. He really does have true leadership qualities. I've always enjoyed speaking with him, and what I do think is an underreported part of the story is, and it may just be a simple detail that people gloss over. Morgan still has to prove any trade out of Toronto, and he loves living here. Like all my conversations I've had with him in the 4 years about hockey, I mean, he's always rated how much he loved being a Maple Leaf. But we had one chat this year. I was doing a feature on the Leafs initiatives, Leafs Pride initiatives. Morgan Rielly's always been a strong advocate of Pride, and along with Scott Lawton. So I spoke to him for 10 minutes after a practice, and for about 8 minutes, the conversation was about Pride and how his allyship initiatives. For about 2-3 minutes, though, we got to speaking about just like living in Toronto and just like, before when he was, much younger player, of course, and just, the city's culture and just like how much he's like enjoyed growing up in the city, right? I mean, as you both know, right, he's the longest tenured player on his team. Like he's quite literally grown up in front of our eyes, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right? He made the team when he was a 20-year-old, I believe. So we sort of spoke about that, just like how we've both like grown out of our 20s into our 30s and living in Toronto, and he loves it here. So I think it really has to be the hockey fit has to work for him, and the city fit has to work. Like I wonder, like, would he approve a trade to Chicago? That's not been one of the teams listed, just because it's a big city. Like the other underreported part about Morgan Rielly is like he likes living in the city, evidently. So, when people were saying San Jose and Anaheim, I'm like, the hockey fit makes a lot of sense, but does it make sense for the lifestyle fit?
Yeah.
Like he's very much like he grew up in Vancouver. He's like a patron of the arts, from what I know.
Yeah.
So these are like underreported aspects of it that I think sometimes.
And he's a good player. I don't know. It just seems like
sure.
I mean he's just to me and Sil have talked about this before too a lot on the podcast. Like he's just been used improperly the last couple of years. Really, they've put him on like so many minutes, like 24, 25 minutes a night. You can't expect that from him now, I don't think. I mean, you can, to me or to us, he's like a second pairing defenseman. He could be good on the second pairing.
Mm-hmm.
And you lessen his minutes and give him some time on the second power play, and I think he'll be fine. But I don't know. I just think that they're kind of pushing him out the door.
Yeah, I mean, certainly they've had a conversation with him, and
yeah,
like I mean, so like what I can report, obviously, it's like he clearly wanted to be a Maple Leaf. He said as much. He made it clear on media day, and then so many things about media day I think got misconstrued. Actually, like two things. So one with Rielly is like he's like, well, someone asked him about the trade or about potential of a trade rather. And he kind of was just like, well, they haven't approached me yet. Like, so it's not that he like blanched at the question, but he was just kind of like, why would I entertain this thing that is still a hypothetical? The other thing too, like Austin Matthews, we don't have to necessarily go into it, but, have reported, Austin's future, it's murky with the team. It's like, they didn't even have a general manager in place yet. Of course he doesn't know what the future holds. It was a very like innocuous, response to a fairly standard question on end of year media day, and it got totally blown out of proportions for people who weren't in the room. Like, of course, Austin doesn't know what the future holds. They don't have a general manager yet. They're about to fire the head coach, and they did that week. It's like, so, yeah. I mean, you asked about trade candidates. I think it's a deal involving Morgan Rielly. I don't think anything seismic's on the table anymore. I think the idea of like a Matthew Knies for Zach Werenski type trade is off the table for now.
That's good.
And yeah. Well, another thing I'll say, and again, as a reporter, the onus on me to be a little more critical, but I can't just take what the team tells me for face value always. But John Chayka had consecutive press conferences in which he was like, "We're not going to trade Matthew Knies unless it's like an astronomical offer," and somehow it got reported as Matthew Knies is on the trade block. It's like, that's not correct. It's like, yes, the Leafs will pick up the phone and say if a team calls them about Matthew Knies, as would 31 other like general managers would with various players. So I think sometimes in the market, it's fascinating to me now as someone who's on the beat and watch things take on a life of their own sometimes, where it's like, yeah, like Matthew Knies is not on the trade block unless it is for reigning Norris Trophy winner Zach Werenski. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's just
no. It's funny because it all started with Brad Treliving, like at the trade deadline, that information that came out, and then automatically they assumed that John Chayka is just going to take over that idea again and put Matthew Knies like on for sale, basically, right, or on the trade block. But it's, I don't know.
You can't blame the other GMs for trying, right? So that's their job. So so the new guy comes in who has been out for a while. They're going to see if they can, find some kind of loophole there.
True. Yeah. And what about Dakota Joshua though? Do you think like with him that he has any?
Yeah, I mean, he could certainly be an option. I think, it's curious actually. I can't really get a sense of like how what John Chayka or Jim Miller thinks of him just yet. Like, I haven't been able to sort of perceive what they think of him yet. But I could see him. I could see Dakota Joshua on the move.
I guess they got that Teddy Bluger, right? Like that's who he played with in Vancouver, right? So that's the only reason why I can see that maybe they're going to try and see if it works that way.
Well, Dakota Joshua
chemistry.
Precisely. So I think Dakota Joshua played the best hockey of his career when stapled to Teddy Bluger, and they could keep him for that reason. But truthfully, I do think the Leafs would try to move him if there's a team willing to take on the last year of his cap hit. I think it's $3.75 million, if I'm not mistaken.
I think so, yeah.
Which is not prohibitive, but it seems like if there were to be a Dakota Joshua move, it would be one closer to training camp or around that window, in which teams are trying to finalize their roster. But I haven't heard anything that the Leafs are trying to actively shop Dakota Joshua. I think the only two things that were really picking up steam were the Morgan Rielly trade talks, and now that league activity has crawled to a standstill, we don't know. And then my source on the Brandon Carlo trade was correct, that it did happen, and it happened at just the busiest time of the calendar. Like, oh god, why does the trade have to happen now? Like, thanks for the intel, guys. And now 2 more trades. But
there's also Steven Lorentz too. Not a lot of people talk about him. Like, he's kind of like the extra forward. When I was looking at some line combinations and that, it's kind of like, I don't know. It seems like we have a bit too many forwards, like those depth forwards now. But I don't know if that's somebody that they might consider as a trade piece. I mean, none of these, except for Morgan Rielly, I think they should actually get more, like a little bit more anyways, value than Dakota Joshua or even Steven Lorentz, right? But I mean, it might be more difficult to find a trade partner for Joshua and Lorentz at this stage of the summer, I'll say. I think like that market for like that caliber player reopens itself around September and October. So we'll see. I mean, I wish I had like more like intel here.
Well, I mean, it's quiet everywhere. So
and like what I will say about like Morgan, like I've loved speaking to him these 4 years, and he's been such an ambassador for the organization. I feel guilty of it too. Like, as reporters, like you have to use whatever information's publicly available, while also trying to be mindful of like not putting players through the ringer when it comes to trade rumors and and their livelihood. And but
that's all about Toronto though. That's right.
The big scary media. Yeah, right. We're the big, frightening, scary media who run players out. Right. Yeah. God, I forgot.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we're going to move on to our next question. On our show, we've talked about how positive the Leafs prospect pool looks now in comparison to the doom and gloom that we were feeling before last season ended. It was unbelievable how all of Leafs Nation was feeling crappy about the future, basically, of the team. And obviously, the Leafs had lucky number 12 to get Gavin McKenna, first overall in the NHL draft. And we're pretty positive that McKenna is making the team this year. And from the prospect pool, though, is there any other player other than McKenna that you think might get the opportunity to play for the Leafs this season?
This season might be tough. I mean, if you count Ben Danford, maybe.
Okay.
I think he's going to get a little more seasoning in the AHL, of course, but he would be really the only answer for this year. But I do think the pool is deepened in a lot of ways that maybe the returns aren't as immediate as this year. McKenna notwithstanding, of course.
Right.
But the pool is deep in a lot of ways. So what I mean by this, so McKenna obviously is the best prospect in hockey. He's going to immediately graduate to the first line. He's stapled to Austin Matthews this year, and maybe to a lesser degree he'll get some time.
You don't think that's too much pressure though for the kid? I don't know.
No, I do not.
No,
it's not incumbent upon me to lessen the pressure on him. And on anything. Like when they're saying, people are like, "Oh, is that too much pressure to place on him?" I'm like, it might be. It's not my job to suppress the pressure on him. It's just not. Like, it's funny, when I was covering the development camp, he looked amazing that first day, and it was just like minor drills. But I was like, wow, his first step, it looks explosive. He scored on 8 out of the 10 shots he took. I was just like, and people were like, relax, man, it's just drills. I'm like, I have to report what I'm seeing. He looks unbelievable out there.
I was following you on X during that, and you got me so excited, actually.
Yeah.
Well, I don't mean to be doing a disservice, but he looks
I don't think it is, because we actually got to go to one of the development camp days too, and we noticed the same things.
Yeah.
And it was impressive. He can just do things at it's not quite Connor McDavid's speed, but he does things at a speed that is different than what other kids his age do. So,
but to answer your question, there are a lot of non-McKenna, so to speak, that have me excited. I mean, the kid that the Leafs took in the second round, Alexander Bilecki, 6'2". He looks a lot like Alec Martinez with more offense to me. Maybe that's not the best scouting report, but that's what I sort of wrote in my notes. Just the way he moves. He might have more offense than that, so I might be selling him short on the offensive side. But he's 6'2". He's 188 pounds, but he has the frame to add at least 15 more pounds of muscle. He's tall and wiry. He skates really well. He thinks really well. He's been lauded by scouts for his hockey intelligence, and the second half of the year that he had with Kitchener helped Kitchener win a Memorial Cup. So yeah, when you ask me about players who are going to graduate to the NHL, Alexander Bilecki is not making the NHL this year.
No.
But I could see him having a very bright NHL future, in 2 or 3 years. I could see him graduating pretty quickly in the NHL. Another kid, Zach Olsen, Leafs took him in the 3rd round, I believe, with one of the picks they got from the Brandon Court. So my friend and prospect analyst, Stephen Ellis, who works for Daily Faceoff, and I think is the best prospect analyst in the world, he's Zach Olsen's a ready-made fourth liner, just the way he plays. He's going to be in the NHL one day on the fourth line. He plays his hair is on fire. Mans Goodmanson, that kid that Leafs took in the 3rd round. A lot of scouts had him as a high 2nd round pick on their boards. A lot of people felt the Leafs got excellent return on value for that pick. Mans Goodman's
what do you think
partner.
Of sorry to cut you off there, what do you think of William Villeneuve, though, trying to get on the
Villeneuve. Okay, yeah, if he counts as a prospect, yeah. So what do I think of William Villeneuve? How do I?
Because I think he played pretty, he was playing well during the Marlies Calder Cup run, and he's been down there a couple of seasons now with the Marlies. I don't know. I was just thinking maybe he'd get, or is it only the case if Morgan Rielly gets traded? I don't know who they.
So William Villeneuve's in an intriguing spot, I'll say. Whereas he's 25 years old, he has professional ceiling is sort of spelled out for him. He had a good run at the Calder Cup on paper, I thought. There was in my scouting notes And again, I don't want to denigrate a player. There were things I was less impressed by. I thought that particularly against players with like NHL pedigree, in the Eastern Conference Final against Wolves Bar Penguins, Bill Zonin, who was taken the first round last year by Pittsburgh, really gave Villeneuve trouble. He was losing a lot of puck battles. But he's shown the offensive pedigree that like he is like on the verge of being an NHL 6 or number 5. He can.
I think he led the AHL in points for the playoffs. I think for defensemen.
Yeah, Van Grew. Yeah, his first defenseman. He had 2 goals, 21 assists. Like he had an excellent playoffs offensively.
Yeah.
So the question is like, where does he fit at the NHL level? Does he fit at the NHL level? Could I see him being thrown on as an add-on in a Morgan Rielly or Dakota Joshua trade? Yes, I could. Like I think the way you have to position Villeneuve is like, if your team needs an NHL 7, the Leafs have a ready-made guy for you. I just don't know how much time he's going to get to because Troy Stetcher's sort of like in that space there too. Space too. Like the logical playing spots for William Villeneuve to get time are occupied. So I'm curious to see what they do with him. And again, like I'm not trying to speak too negatively about a guy who had an excellent College Cup playoff run on paper. And I wonder if my scouting knows.
It would be nice to see a defenseman come that we've basically we've grown come through the system.
When it comes to like Ben Danford's closer to the NHL than Villeneuve is, and took leaps in this game that don't show up in the score sheet, but he's finally beginning to show a little more offensive pop, or at least offensive instincts. Like you were seeing a lot in the College Cup final. Ben Danford was getting to rush quite a bit. I talked to their head coach John Gruden about that, and he's like, this wasn't the exact quote, but to paraphrase, he basically said that he's creating offense without sacrificing defense, and that's pretty much what you want to see from a coaching perspective. So yeah, when it comes to the Marlies, Danford's for sure the one that could make the team most likely. If you're counting Archer Akhiemov, of course, he will get NHL games. Like I think the way you have to look at the Leafs goaltending situation is, yes, it's Bobrovsky and Anthony Stolarz, but Archer Akhiemov is effectively their number 3. 84 game schedule. He's going to have to eat some games there for sure. I mean, with Bobrovsky, the one thing the Leafs have, whether he returns to form or not, the Leafs have a durable goalie. Bobrovsky's going to start at least 40 games, but Akhiemov should get like a healthy percentage of the starts too. So if we're counting him, and I think he should count, then Archer Akhiemov the prospect we're going to see a lot more of, just out of necessity, and he's earned it. He was outstanding for the Marlies.
He was fantastic. Yeah,
and he's got like the qualities you want in a goaltender. He's like unflappable.
Totally.
Yeah,
and a real competitor too. Like that's what I found. Like he just never seems to be, satisfied with his game. And I just kind of find the best guys are sort of like that. Always trying to go for that continuous improvement, be better every game.
He's very intense.
And
I mean,
humble as well. I remember when he was being named for the MVP for the playoffs, and they were like RD. The whole place there, because we were there at the game, at that final game when they won, and he was like, no.
that was awesome. Yeah, that was a cool moment to see. Sure.
Yeah. It'll be good for him to be mentored by like someone who he already kind of idolizes in Bobrovsky as well, right? So, yeah. All right. So, we spent a lot of time so far this offseason talking about the changes to the organization, the players coming in, and not so much about those that are still here. So I kind of have a 2-part question for you here. So for the first part, of the players currently on the roster, who do you think is going to benefit the most from the influx of new talent or personnel? So this could be players to play with or the coaching. And how do you see this potentially playing out? Like who are going to be the beneficiaries of the changes that are still here?
I mean, that's a good question. I think it's a great one. I mean, I think Austin Matthews is obviously an easy answer.
Yeah, that's the easiest one for sure.
Kevin McKenna is basically staple to his top line now. I mean, you have that ready-made playmaker. But I think also, too, the organization's doing a lot to make Austin comfortable. So, like, bringing in its longtime friend in Jack Roslovic, who's just super fast, helps. Jake McCabe seems like a logical answer. Just I think he's going to get a lot of playing time with Darren Raddysh. And we spoke about repositioning Morgan Rielly, right? It's like, well, I mean, Morgan Rielly's not my answer here for this question, but will all the incumbent defensemen benefit from the role being properly adjusted for? So will Oliver Ekman-Larsson, who actually had a really good year last year, like, will he benefit now that he's being sort of recast in a role where he's not playing true number one minutes? So I mean, I think for that reason, like whoever plays with Darren Raddysh first, and that might be Jake McCabe. So yeah, I mean, Matthews is the easy answer. So I'll say Austin Matthews or Jake McCabe seem like the biggest beneficiaries for sure. And then now thinking outside the box, or maybe thinking outside of what strikes me as obvious, Anthony Stolarz to a degree. Just in the sense that last year he entered the year thinking, well, I'm going to be the 1A starter in a true tandem with Joe Wall's 1B. Now his role has been clearly defined. You are the clear number 2 starter. You're with a guy that that you played with before, you have chemistry with, you understand Bobrovsky's Hall of Fame resume and have no issue with being a number 2 guy to him. There's less expectation from the fan base on what to expect. Because it can be hard on players. I think one thing that doesn't get brought up about this market is, the media and the fan base, we can be loud. I don't think as a media corps we're particularly tough on players, but there can be a lack of sensitivity when it comes to injuries for sure. Like, the way they talk about players, like Anthony Stolarz, he battles, he works exceptionally hard, So I take I don't want to say I want to take umbrage, but like, it's hard to fault players for being injury prone, so to speak. That's out of their control. And I think sometimes the narrative is like, well, this guy's injury prone in a way that connotes like a lack of effort, which I don't like. So there's a long-winded answer saying that Anthony Stolarz is probably my third answer for this question because his role has been defined. He may benefit from just knowing that there are lesser expectations on him, working with someone he's familiar with.
That is a good is a good point. I never thought of that with that whole, I guess, chemistry with Bobrovsky. Like it's going to be
more predictable for him for sure.
Yeah. And it would be a help for him, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think last year, the idea that it was going to be a tandem setup to begin with, it sounded great on paper, and both goalies were amenable to the idea. But it's a tougher thing to execute in when it's all laid out, right? Like it looks great on paper, but it's a tough thing to execute. And then Joe Wall,
especially when Joe Wall he's like not showing up in the start of all of a sudden in the middle of training or the start of training camp. Basically, he was gone, right?
Yeah,
so there goes the tandem for the first 2 months of the season.
That was so strange. I mean, I'm not gonna pry into him. I wish him all the best, but but certainly I will say it was odd just to be like, hey, Brad's meeting with you guys in 10 minutes. Okay, what's up? And it's just like. And then he held a 2-minute press conference, and out of respect for Joseph, I'm not taking any further inquiries. And that was that. And it's like, okay, well, there goes your 1B goaltender for an indefinite amount of time.
So, sorry to interrupt. So I just want to get a little bit into the coaching aspect of all this. So, what do you kind of gauge on or know about Hiller, and how do you think him coming in as coach now might have its effects? Like, I just think of somebody like William Nylander, for example. We haven't really talked about him much yet, but I just kind of wonder, what this year might look like for him, if it's going to be better or worse for him.
As it relates to William Nylander, I think it'll be better for him. It's I think Jim Hiller, he's lauded for his communication style. I think that's the note that I've really picked up on in reading, reports out of LA and what people who seem to know him really well. He's really personable with us, with the media. But I think he should embolden the Leafs stars players to play to their strengths. And I think that's something that really got away from the team last year. I think they were too fixated on playing this, very truncated style of hockey where it's just like, okay, we're going to dump the puck in at all costs. We don't necessarily have the personnel to implement the system or execute the system. Yes, now that the season's over, I can confirm the reports that are out there that Nylander and Berube did not enjoy each other. Like, I think it was Jonas Siegel, right, from The Athletic, who put it out there that Nylander and Berube had a blow up at practice. Like, can confirm that was real. Like, it's, I don't think like Berube initially had it out for Nylander, but
no, I just think they weren't on the same page. That was clear, and it seemed, it seemed to me that like for him, like there were so many times where they were shown having discussions in practice and stuff like that. So,
they had a few heated discussions in practice, and I feel like, I think for William, like he felt that his style of play was being cramped a bit.
And he still produced. Despite that, yeah.
I don't think any of the stuff like, like William felt like he took an outside share of the criticism, like that part is nonsense. Like William Nylander does not he doesn't pay attention to a single word that's said or written or heard about him. Sorry, Will, I wish you heard us today, but no, like he didn't pay attention to that type of stuff. But yeah, like there was clearly like communication issues there. But it wasn't just actually William. Like a few wingers admitted to me privately that they had, how's the one player described it? He's basically just like, well, what does Craig want out of us? He's like, he says that we have to like mitigate turnovers, right? We have to keep turnovers down, but like we turn the puck over as a result of making a creative read at the offensive blue line. And then you're on the bench. It's like, well, what do you want? What do you want out of me? Like, do you want me to hold on to the puck or do you want me to get the puck in deep? Like, do you want me to make a creative play or not? Like, what do you want me to do here? So I think there was, for the wingers especially, like a lot of them like did not like playing under Craig. Other part of it too is like, yeah, like I thought Craig Berube was a perfectly pleasant human being to deal with for the 2 seasons that he was brought on. But in this last season, he completely failed as a communicator. Like he just did. Like those are the harsh truisms. Craig's perfectly nice guy, was a consummate pro. I think he had his heart in the right place, but he was a completely ineffective communicator for 25-26, and we watched it all. I think it didn't help matters when he said, ask those guys, not me. I think those type of comments really did not go over well in the locker room. What I was also thinking is sort of fascinating about Berube is that when he was brought in, his popular reputation was like he's this taskmaster, he's this hard-nosed guy who's gonna,
accountability.
He holds his players accountable. And it's actually like, no, he was like a very player-friendly coach. But it sort of manifests itself in odd ways where Max Domi had a permanent spot on the roster no matter how well or how poorly he played. At the end of the year where they could have brought up several Marlies calls instead, Calle Jarnkrok was earmarked for a roster spot.
Yeah, that was a thorn in our side. We mentioned that a lot. It really bugged us.
So, and I think that's the result of just apathetic coaching.
Yeah.
It just is what it is. And I was pretty scathing towards Craig at least in my opinion, towards the end of the year. And it had nothing to do with him as a person. But he was completely apathetic as a coach in the final 22 games of the season. Let's call it what it is.
Yeah.
I think with Jim Hiller, so he's well liked by William and Austin as a communicator. He brought in a style of play in Los Angeles that's like a 1-3-1 that's like a pretty like defensive system where your forwards essentially clog up the neutral zone. But what's interesting by Hiller, I try to get a sense on that. So I asked him about his 1-3-1. And to paraphrase, he basically said like he's not like married to the system. Like he's quite happy to tailor his system to what he thinks the strengths of the team are, which I think is a very encouraging answer. I think if he had gone into detail about, okay, this is what worked well in Los Angeles, we're going to try and implement it here, or I envision Austin as the Nancy Kopitar type, I think that could have been problematic. But he was just like, well, we'll see what my team looks like, but I'm going to empower
he seemed more open.
I think also too what Cheka and Sundin said during their intro presser. Someone asked them like where do they think the game's heading, and Cheka spoke to the idea of how you need to have a mobile defense corps. And then his first trade was to trade Joe Wall for Emil Andre, and so they did get faster on the blue line. So you're sort of starting to see these pieces come together, and I'm not going to pretend like I'm like a Jim Hiller expert. A lot of this is just reading a lot of what Kings beat writers have written about him and my interactions with him at 2 press conferences. But he seems open. He seems affable. What's certainly important to the incumbents on this team, right, is that Austin will like it. And that goes a long way, I think.
Yeah.
And it makes it easier for guys to follow suit. And it makes it easier for a guy like Gavin McKenna to be like, great, my captain likes to coach. Awesome. I'm riding with him. Like, not to say it's, that cut and dry and Gavin has a mind of his own, of course, but you know what I mean? It makes everything a lot easier when there's not this disconnect between your star winger and the head coach. I think last year, we try not to be sensationalists on the beat, right? We have to cover things for what they are. And I think all of us who have access around the team have a responsibility to be responsible about what we see in here, because people have a mind of their own out there. But now that the season's over, absolutely true that Willie and the Islander did not like playing for Craig Berube. Their interaction at practices were, the thing is that they weren't these grandiose fights.
Mm-hmm. No, but you could tell there was intense conversations.
But they definitely had some disagreements about where they, especially on the offensive side of the puck. So
yeah,
we'll see. I think just liking your head coach goes a long way, and then we'll learn more about Jim Hiller's tactics as the season goes on, I think. But
for sure.
He did implement a pretty defensively heavy system with Los Angeles. So I am curious, right? Like, this Leafs team sort of struggled to score last year, but they also hemorrhaged goals. So it should help defensively, I'll say.
Yeah. What do you think? What do you think of the hiring of Daniel Alfredsson? Though you think that'll help?
I loved it. Listen, as okay, so as
if we can stick it to the Ottawa Senators as many ways as we can, that's good.
That should be a thumbs up from Willie for that. Getting
as much as I said, I would try to suppress my fandom. Who am I kidding? Right? It's like, for your audience, I'm 37 and I grew up in the Mets era, and Daniel Alfredsson was my most detested athlete growing up. I was very much a Sundin acolyte, and but I think it's a smart move. He said for wanting to press the Senators fan base even further, but just from the hockey perspective of it, Daniel Alfredsson did some good things with the Senators power play for sure. He's excited to get to work with the caliber of players he gets to work with in Toronto's top end. Obviously a very sharp hockey mind and smart guy.
He has aspirations of being a coach like that.
Has aspirations of being a coach for sure.
And
he supports the idea, right? He supports the idea that you can't be in one place sometimes, right? And that's true in any sector, right? Any sector, whether it's business, tech, what have you, right? So I like it a lot. I need to now spend August sort of watching more Senators power play film than I care to, just to get a sense of what they looked like last year under Alfredsson's tutelage. But I obviously like the move quite a bit. He has a relationship with Mats that he has a relationship with the coaching staff. He views it as an opportunity to build out his own NHL coaching resume. It's fascinating, right? For us, so I wrote a piece about basically how this year it's going to be fun for me to cover my all-time favorite athlete in a professional capacity. I see Matt Sundin in the facility, and I can't be starstruck, right?
No,
cover. But to that same token, it's like, welcome aboard, Daniel. Everything I said about you as a preteen,
I take back now.
Thank God it did not put that on the internet. The house.
All right, it will be odd to see him behind the see him behind the Leafs bench. Yeah.
So I just got a quick part 2 question here. We don't have to spend a lot of time on it, but are you hearing anything about the status of players that finished the season on the injured list? So we've got Austin, Max Domi, I'm kind of concerned about still, but he had his golf tournament this week, so maybe things are looking better. But have you heard anything on Chris Tanev too is another one that, we're just wondering how they're looking as far as it seems like they're all earmarked to show up for camp though. So
Chris is skating. He seems like he's fine. There's obviously going to be some caution with him because he had 2 major injuries last year, but by all accounts, Chris Tanev, if the season were to start today, he would be good to go. The one Austin seems fine. I haven't watched anything of him recently, but
other than at Freddie Anderson's wedding, right?
other than that,
He seemed to be having a good time there.
like a great time with Freddie Anderson's winning. So I think Austin should be fine. And based on what we've heard from the team, he's progressing well. The one concerning one is Max Domi, where I don't know the details, but it's believed that he had a procedure that did not go the way the team anticipated. And I don't know more than that. I mean, it seems like he may have some mobility issues going into camp. So we'll see.
I don't know, because on the video, he was on Instagram this past weekend, like Sil was saying with his golf term, he looked fine there. He's moving.
Yeah, but he might not have golfed though.
So
even
I don't know.
Yeah,
I want to see what he looks like on the ice, right?
It's obviously different. Yeah.
Stuff. So I haven't heard anything beyond that with injuries. But Chris Stannis progressing well by all accounts.
That's good to know.
Yeah.
That's one I'm most confident about. But yeah, one thing I'll say about injuries too, right? It's like the toughest part about covering the team 2 seasons ago was figuring out what was wrong with Austin. Because what would happen is you'd go to practice and it's he looks fine, and then the next day he's made unavailable. So then there's a lot of it's well, what is the issue? And because of I think I hate to speculate about injuries, but I think it's his back with Austin. I think the same thing could be the issue.
He had back trouble. I know, even going as far back as when he was playing, before he got drafted, even he had some back trouble.
Right. So as it relates to Max, if he has if the issue is a back injury, I would imagine it'd be more difficult to detect. But I will say this to both of you: I do not have a kinesiology degree. I took some science courses. I'm a journalism school graduate. I am the doctors on ER know more about. So
no, I know.
So I don't really know anything on how to diagnose injuries, but just from being around the team for the last 4 years, I've realized back injuries and anything to do with sort of nerve and muscle, it's impossible to tell, because with Austin, when he was hurt, he would show up at practice and be just ripping pucks at 95% of his normal velocity, and you're what's the issue here? But then I think it was a pain tolerance stuff, and so we'll see. But I don't have any further update from the teams. I don't know anything more than that, but it seems like
the team isn't very forthcoming in giving updates anyways on the team. I don't know if that will change with John Chayka and company, but I guess from previous regimes that it was very hard. It was like pulling teeth basically to get anything out of them when it came to injuries. So yeah.
Well, I mean, we're going to have to wait and see for a lot of this. And Arun, thank you so much for coming on with us today and being our guest. We are going to slate you in as a regular. If you don't mind, we'll have you on again during the season. Once you've had a chance to kind of watch these guys a little bit more closely, we'd like to get your insight on that. So hockey fans, be sure to check out theleafsnation.com to keep up to date on the Leafs with Arun's reports. You'll also find a link to Arun's most recent articles on the Leafs in our show notes as well. And if you don't follow Arun on X, make sure that you do. His handle is @ArunThings. And also you can find him at TLNDC. Thanks again so much for coming on with us today, Arun.
Yeah, thanks, Arun, for having me. It was a blast.
Yeah, it was lots of fun. Thanks a lot.
Thanks again to Arun for coming on the show. It was great to get his insights, and first time guest. So that's always great that he's going to come on again. So that's great too. I was actually surprised how much of a fan he was for Sergei Bobrovsky, going into, I mean, not that I'm not a fan. I guess it's hard when he played with the Florida Panthers, right?
I mean, to be fair, he did say that, for the riskiest one, that's who he chose. So it's a high risk, potentially high reward signing, I guess, in his opinion.
Yeah.
So,
I just found it interesting that and then he did point out too that, I guess from your question about the benefit, it did give me, I guess, the sense with that tandem with Stolars, the fact that they played together.
The roles are much more defined. I didn't, until he was talking about it, I didn't really even think about that, how unpredictable this tandem was with Wall and Stolarz last year. And they were supposed to be kind of going back and forth and sharing the load, and they never got to do that. So both of them ended up getting, because they had to go for long stretches, kind of burnt out in a way, and really couldn't handle that bigger load because they ended up having to do that for periods of time, right? Yeah. So it ended up being a really unpredictable kind of partnership. So yeah.
And then the other side of it, I guess, because Arun gets to access to Leafs practices like all season long with the Leafs Nation. And I thought it was cool to get his, I guess, insights on Willie, the relationship with Willie and Craig Berube, and how they didn't, like, they showed that on all the sports networks anyways, like them having conversations, but they may not have been so friendly.
Yeah, you could definitely tell that they were in intense conversations, and now we kind of know for sure that there was a little bit of intensity there. So
yeah. But no, it was great. He had a lot of great things to talk or say about the Leafs, like Morgan Rielly and of course all the prospects coming up, but he did say that he's a fan, like you are, of Gav McKenna being stapled to the left side of Austin Matthews. So,
well, and I mean, he, like the way he talked about it, he was like, that's a no-brainer. That's for sure where he's starting. So, yeah. So, but we still got probably about 6 weeks, 6 or 7 weeks before that happens. And that's our show for this. Can't wait. It's going to be so exciting to see the old and the new come together on the ice for the first time.
Yeah, we've seen Austin Matthews and William Nylander grow up in front of us.
That's right.
For so many years, and now it's Gavin McKenna that's going to be coming in, and who knows, maybe there'll be some other prospects that are joining. And Easton Cowan obviously is gonna be there too. So lots to look forward to. That's our show for this episode, and we thank you for listening on Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or your preferred podcast platform. A reminder for Spotify listeners, we are available on Spotify video as well. If you like this episode, share it with one person who you think would also enjoy it. And if you want to keep up to date with the Leafs, follow us on whatever platform you're listening to our show.
And another way to help us out is by visiting our Ko-fi page at Ko-fi.com. You can follow us there, and if you choose to, you can support us by buying us a coffee. Any donation goes towards helping us produce the show and making it even better for you. So you can find the link to our Ko-fi page on our show notes or in any of our social media profile pages.
And thank you to our healthcare workers and first responders for all that they do.
And we thank you, as always, for listening and watching Ladies Talkin' Leafs. Till next time, go Leafs, go!